Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on reducing cloud costs by optimizing PostgreSQL. I'm Annie, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today for this exciting session. I have with me Umair Shahid, founder of Stormatics, as the speaker of this session, who will talk about the practical strategies and best practices for cutting cloud expenses by optimizing our PostgreSQL databases. So before we dive into it, I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded and the recording will be shared afterwards. We encourage you to ask questions and participate actively as we have a dedicated Q&A session by the end of this webinar, and feel free to use either the Q&A feature or the webinar chat. And that's all from my end. Over to you, Umair.
Thank you, Annie, and thank you for walking us through the housekeeping items. I hope everybody got that, especially when it comes to question and answers. Use the Q&A tab or the chat tab, and I will probably remind, if I remember myself, I'll remind you in the middle of the session as well. But the topic of today's conversation is reducing cloud costs by optimizing Postgres. And this is part of the webinar series from Stormatics. We're trying to conduct webinars at the rate of 2 per month on topics that our audience seem to be interested in. And hopefully, this is going to be helpful and useful to you. A little bit about Stormatics. We provide professional services for Postgres, and our mission is to help businesses scale Postgres for mission-critical data. Postgres, we're fans of Postgres, and we truly believe that it has the potential to run pretty much any workload in production, and we help businesses actually achieve that. The topic, of course, is related to cloud and costs and Postgres, but a little bit of a preamble before we dive in. And what we're going to be talking about is how Postgres adoption is exploding pretty much all over the world. How things progress when you are kicking things off in sandbox and in developers' environments, and how they change when you move it into production. We're going to share some fantastic numbers. We ran some benchmarks. I've actually been working with our engineering team, and we've been running benchmarks for the past week, and there's some astounding numbers that have come up, the kind of savings that you can do when running Postgres on the cloud, and I'll be sharing some of those numbers. And then we're going to focus on 4 key areas that you can work on to optimize Postgres, and those 4 areas are query and SQL optimization, leveraging performance features that are available in Postgres, architectural improvement that you can make, and parameter tuning. Now, this chart right here is, and if you are in the Postgres space, if you are in the Postgres world, you might have repeatedly heard about how Postgres is now the most loved and the most used and the most wanted database in Stack Overflow and the DBMS of the year on DB engines. But what this graph right here does is that it cross-references data between DB engines and Stack Overflow. So essentially what I've done is I've taken the top 5 relational databases as per DB engines, and I've tracked their popularity over time over the last 5 years in Stack Overflow. And this is what you get in the result. Now remember, Stack Overflow is a developer community, so this reflects developer sentiments. This reflects how popular a database is within the developer community. And when we started off, and this is 2019 where we start off, MySQL was the most popular database amongst developers, and it had a fair lead on the next most popular, which was Postgres. So Postgres, even starting off, didn't have a bad position, but MySQL had a fair lead over it. Oracle was at the bottom, and again, by far, seems like Oracle has never been very popular amongst developers. And over time, the popularity has actually fallen significantly. And in the latest survey, it's really bad numbers for Oracle. But in the latest survey, what has happened is that Postgres has risen to the top. It has surpassed every other database to become the single most popular database amongst developers. But another interesting